Before you start this episode, please can you click subscribe below and follow our social handles in the description. It's a massive help and it keeps you up to date with all the exciting announcements from the podcast.
Well, look, mate, why don't we just start? I think I've got some bits that I want to go through with you and stuff today, and some of the people that are watching, listening when this goes out will probably know quite a bit about you, but hopefully some of the bits that we cover today they won't know as much about. So just what I always ask people when I meet them is just to take a couple minutes tops, really, a minute, 2 minutes, just to kind of go bit of a life reel in 2 minutes. I know it's a bit of a challenge if you're up for it, but just take us from start to finish, personal, professional, just literally start to maybe present day. And what it will force you to do is kind of bring out stuff that's important, and sort of key parts of your life and stuff. And then we'll probably drill into a few of those bits and pieces. So I think everyone listening and watching will be really interested in sort of hearing about the honesty behind the story rather than just maybe what people have seen. Yeah. So I'll throw it to you. Give us a minute of Kieron.
From the start.
Yeah.
So basically, with fighting, with combat sports, it weren't how people probably would expect, because I wasn't allowed to do boxing at first. My dad never let me do boxing. I was just a small kid, quite skinny, really shy, nervous, really shy and nervous. I was the kid that hides behind his mum's leg and stuff when there's people around. And yeah, so just was never allowed to step into a boxing gym for those reasons. And I was like, the words that my dad used is, "You're too much of a pussy."
I did see that when we were doing some research on you and stuff. It was printed somewhere, wasn't it? That so he said you're too much of a pussy to box. And then you went and did some. You had to prove yourself doing other things first.
Yeah, it almost weren't even like you've got to prove yourself. It was, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
So you can go do something else
Just
instead.
dismissed straight away. That's not the person you're going to be. Yeah. No chance, sort of thing.
Even though we used to watch boxing, I remember when I was young, we used to get up early and watch Ricky Hatton, and I used to watch Lennox Lewis. And getting up early, we're only kids, and we're getting up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning so we can watch these fights with Dad. But just never was allowed to do it. We think we even had boxing gloves at home and stuff. Me and my brother used to have punch ups with boxing gloves on and stuff like that. We had a little bag as well, but was never allowed. So I ended up going karate instead. The only reason I even stepped into this sort of world was because one of my closest mates at school, in primary school, when we were 6 or 7, I knew he was a boxer. Well, he did boxing. When you're that young, you're not a boxer. So yeah, he did boxing, and in the playgrounds I used to go try and box him and stuff like that. But it was only across from the school where we went to school in King's Heath. It was just across the road.
Yeah.
So literally, bang, straight across the road. I thought, it's easy access there. We can go there. I'm local anyway. It's only up the road. But no, still never was allowed. But he also did karate, and
your dad did karate as well as, or
no,
that's
Sam.
Okay.
So his name's Sam, one of my closest mates.
Okay.
So he did karate as well as doing the boxing. He was active kid, football, karate, boxing, whatever it was, he'd go and do it. So my dad said to me, "No, don't go boxing because this and that. Too much for a pussy, too much for a baby, this and that." And looking back on it now, yeah, I probably was, to be honest. But so he said, "Why don't you go and try karate instead?" Sam does that. Go with him there. I went to watch one of his karate sessions, and I was like, "Nah, that's too hard for me." Yeah. They were too rough for me.
Yeah.
I remember I stood there. I was like, "No, don't let me go in. I'm crying my eyes out and stuff like that." 6 years old. For some reason, it just was really intimidating for me. That's
my nieces and nephews do it now, and they're teaching now. And I look at some of the videos that go online, and some that my sister shows me, and it looks hard.
Yeah,
it looks technically difficult to remember the moves and stuff like that. What I'd look like to a 6 or 7-year-old would be just impossible.
Yeah, I remember it being quite tough, to be fair, and I liked it. When I got into it, I liked it. But that one session, I don't know what it was. It was just so intimidating for me. At the end of the session, I think it was one of the teachers went and did he's obviously only helping the lad, but he was doing an unexpected attack on him.
Okay.
So I went up behind him and grabbed him, arm around the neck and stuff. And I was like, nah, straight away, nah, I'm not having that. I'm getting out of here. And I think my grandma might have been there actually. Very blurred memory, that one, but I remember that.
I can't remember a couple of weeks ago, let alone that long ago. So you're doing all right.
So I was like, just don't let me go in. We ended up going straight away. And Yeah, and then I don't remember what happened between that and me going to a different place. But I remember anyway going to this different place. Like I've turned up, everyone's in there like karate gis, and I'm in tracksuit and stuff like that. And I'm the only one in tracksuit. Like, I'm the new kid, but I did it, and I actually really, really liked it. I don't know why, don't know what it was about it. Like, but I really liked the sensei. I really liked the surroundings and stuff. I don't know. I just got into it. And yeah, I was like 6 years old, and then 6 years later, I'm black belt in karate. I actually felt like I was so good at it as well. It felt like I could teach people, and it was even spoke about like in the future you should go teach people, and even like in a couple of years, because I was 12 at the time, 11 or 12, and it said in a couple of years you can just help me teach, because I was actually that good at the time. But then one day my parents, their dogs have had puppies.
Yeah.
And
is this all the Frenchies?
No. That's me. That's
you,
me now.
Yeah.
My parents had English Bull Terriers.
Okay.
So yeah, they had puppies, and my friend that I've just spoke about, his family had English Bull Terriers. They recently passed away, and they wanted more. So they've come down to look at the dogs and stuff. And it so happens that when my dad was younger, he did a few boxing fights, only like 5 or 6. But it was his coach was my friend's dad, and we didn't know about that at the time. So it was
that's a huge coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah, it was such a big coincidence. Yeah. And then so from that day, my dad said to Arthur Daly, who's the boxing coach, said that I wanted to do boxing, but I've never been and stuff like that, and he told me to get down the gym. I went, and I actually really liked it as well. First session, really liked it, and I just kept going back once a week, and then it turned into twice a week, and then it turned into 3 times a week, and then I got moved up to like the more advanced session. Then I started sparring, and then I started thinking, nah, this ain't for me. I remember leaving boxing crying every time I was sparring.
How old were you, that 13, 14, 15 or something like that? Or
12 or 13.
Yeah.
I remember not being in a good way every time, because there was this one really good lad named Ruben Arrowsmith. He had a few fights at the time, and he was so good. My nose used to be bleeding every single session that we sparred. But yeah, I was having all these doubts and stuff, but I kept going back. For some reason, I kept going back.
Yeah. God
knows why. But yeah, I kept going back, and him giving me them beatings was like motivation to me. Which sounds weird, but it just was so motivating to me, getting them beatings. I used to I remember one specific day, maybe a year later, my dad's gone, or maybe less than that, 6 months, he's gone to me, you just pack it in if you want, like, you don't have to keep going back and stuff, because I've left the gym crying.
He's made his point, hasn't
he? Yeah. Blood all over my face after sparring, I'm crying in the car on the way home, and I'm like, so he said that to me, I'm like, nah, because one day I'm going to be better than him, and it's going to be the other way around. And I think that was like a big impact in my boxing career, and probably life as well. It gave me.
Is that a big motivator for you? And was it the beatings you were getting and the lessons you were being taught, or was it your dad saying,
"I really
give
don't
it a rest now," and you thought, "Well, actually, no."
I just don't know. I can't put my finger on it.
Something changed.
Yeah. Something was just like, nah. Why would I quit? Like, it hurts and I'm crying, but for some reason I don't want to stop. I just want to keep going, and I want to I want to be a boxer. And I don't really know where that came from, because my dad like had a little bit of boxing when he was younger, but nothing major. Nothing in my family. Nobody was a boxer. So I just don't get it. It didn't come from anywhere specifically. I wanted to be a boxer, and that was it. And I was just going to keep going until I was as good as these people and better than these people that were giving me beatings in sparring as a kid. And eventually I started closing the gap. And even if I didn't overtake them, it was showing in my boxing, because early on I was losing quite a lot when I was young, like more than I'd win.
Yeah.
And then by the end, as a senior, I only lost 1 fight.
Yeah.
So it like just changed, and it was like exactly how I said it was going to be. One day, and yeah, in the end, I got to a certain level where I felt like I was capable to finally turn over pro. And it might have been too early because there was opportunities that probably I could have went different route, went on. I boxed for England, but I could have went like, really into the England stuff.
So what age are you here when you've got opportunities to potentially look at going pro? Because a lot of people talk about that when you're watching boxing.
Yeah.
And if I've watched boxing, it's like, you watch up and coming fighters and you think, well, they talk about, is he going to go pro? And then is it too early? Is it too late? And a lot of boxing seems to me, from someone who isn't necessarily a boxing specialist, I like sport, I like watching it, but it's a lot about timing.
Yeah.
The right fights at the right time for that particular person, and really picking routes for kind of like years and years. You're going to do that one, then maybe flip over there. So what was kind of like from your point of view, for everybody watching and listening that don't walk those shoes, what are the options when you get to that kind of, maybe you've gone from your kind of kid boxing to it's starting to get serious now, and you've now got you're getting older. What you'd have been 17, 18 maybe?
Yeah, I was 17 when I first thought I want to go pro, but I was definitely too young. Definitely too young at that time.
And what happened at that point? Did you get talked off of it, or just look, you need to chill out now, mate? I know you're doing all right, but you need to get your head down and do this? Or
I probably did get talked out of it, to be fair, because my dad took me to a pro gym. I think probably I was about 18. Maybe I was 17 when I actually went into a pro gym at Birmingham. I think that was East Side. And I remember the coach saying to me, and the manager saying, yeah, maybe wait a year or two. And because they'd said that, and they already in the pro thing, I was like, yeah, fine. And I'll do some more amateur stuff, keep learning this way. And I was fine with that because I respected what they said. Because why wouldn't I? I'm me and they're doing the pro stuff already.
And that, So when you say doing the amateur stuff, is that just like free fights around Northampton, locally? So I know you did some stuff. I think you referenced something I was looking at the other week, which was obviously you started off doing fights at places like Deco and stuff in front of 500, 1,000 people or whatever. So is that point? Is that what when you reference an amateur? Is that the sort of stuff that, or
in the amateurs? There's a lot of different things. I remember one time I boxed in St James Working Men's Club.
Yeah.
In the upstairs gym.
I know that very well.
Pound a
pint, I think it was. Back then.
It still is. And I mean, there was an upstairs gym, only tiny, and I had fights in there. That was on record and everything.
Yeah.
But I had fights downstairs as well. But yeah, you have fight as an amateur. I've boxed in the Deco quite a few times. The county cricket ground. The York Hall even. I boxed there as a pro. York Hall in London.
Yeah.
These are like for like titles and stuff like that. They're quite decent shows, but it's still amateur. Obviously no payment for it and everything. But at this point I was like, I wanted to go pro, and I knew I was going to be a pro. I knew I still know that I can do more in the pros than what I've done now. So I knew I was going to do big things in the pro boxing world. I used to tell everyone at school. Nobody believed me because it's still at this point I'm still really thin. Didn't have much to me. I was active and I was always like one of the top people like at sports and stuff, but never the best.
Yeah,
never the best.
I think when you're younger though, you look at boxers and you think they've got to be big.
Yeah, everyone thinks that.
They don't really understand.
Yeah, there's
categories
weight
and weight classes
like
and stuff. Yeah.
But I was just like stringy at this point, like teenager kind of looking. I was teenager. So at this point where it's like still wanting to go pro, still don't know, and everyone was like talking me this way. Then we were talking about like going down the England route and stuff like that, going for like trials, going for seeing if we'd go there, because that's massive experience because you get international experience where you're fighting the best from them countries and things like that. But for some reason, I just weren't interested. I just wanted to go pro. I think I'm a really impatient person at that time. Didn't really understand the process of things. I just wanted to hit it straight away. Yeah. And I was sick of everyone telling me that you're not going to be a pro boxer, you're not going to do this. So back to that, what I was saying, I used to tell everyone, and even teachers and things like that, I weren't the greatest kid at school. I really weren't. I was like that kid that just told my teachers, why do I need to do this? Like, I'm going to be a boxer. I just told them straight. I was like, I'm not doing it. And
that went down well.
Don't think teachers really like me too much.
Yeah.
And I don't advise that to anyone that's listening. I'm not advising you to be like me at school. But I just gave it everything to boxing, and I was like, I'm not having a plan B, and I don't need one. I'm not having one, and that's that. You can listen or you don't have to listen. I'm still going to do it. Yeah. And I was like, I'm turning pro, and I think I must have been, how old am I? 26.
So you turned pro in what, 2017, wasn't it?
Yeah. Turned pro in 2017. And I think I was probably too young at the time, because I looked about 12 years old, and what was I, about 20? And I just weren't filled out. I didn't have enough. I had a lot of experience as an amateur, like I had 80 something fights, but it weren't all the experience that I needed. I needed to have a little bit more life experience, a little more fight experience.
Yeah.
But things worked out because we got the right fights, right time, like you said. Like you touched on earlier, that's important. That's so important. People think it's all about going straight away into the biggest fight, but you can't jump to like the 10th step of a ladder without taking each one. Like you have to take.
You might get a bit of luck, but you've got to do the steps to get there and earn the stripes, I suppose.
100%. 100%. But yeah, I just kept. Obviously, I did what I did when I first started pro, and I didn't make any money when I first turned over, because I didn't have Olympic experience. I weren't in no spotlights or anything.
So is that what could have paid you the money at that stage? Was if you'd have gone down that Olympic route, you've got more credibility, so people want you on their cards, and that's the way it works.
If you're able to do that and you're good enough to go Olympics and things like that, you turn pro with big contracts.
Yeah.
But I didn't even have like national titles to my name and stuff like that. So I was just on like the minimum they give you, and you get paid for selling tickets. Yeah. I didn't sell tickets because I was not really like the most popular kid at school either. I was a bit naughty. Like I said, didn't care about schoolwork. Weren't the greatest at socialising either, because at that point I was focused on being a boxer. So whilst everyone was doing things, I was boxing.
Yeah.
So yeah, weren't the most popular, so didn't sell many tickets. Sometimes I fight for no money as a pro. In the deco, actually, I boxed for no money as a pro. Sometimes I boxed for like £200, something like that. So it was hard at first as well, because I gave up all work, I gave up school, I gave up everything.
So at that point, you were literally just everything all in boxing.
Yeah, and I really
do or die, pretty much.
Yeah, it was definitely that. I did really struggle sometimes. Like I struggled in ways that people wouldn't expect. Like I weren't eating right. Nutrition was hard for me, because when you've got no money, what are you meant to do? And my parents like brought a couple of caravans, and we lived in that. But like me and my brother lived in one, and we couldn't keep with bills or anything. Like we struggled. Things were never easy, to be fair. Like financially, we're from St James, and King's Heath. Like we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and like up until like the last 2 years, I really struggled. But I think it builds character. I think it builds like a mentality that other people that had it a little bit easier don't understand. Like the fight, and I think all boxers that make anything, bar a few, there's like Conway, and he's grew up with money and he's going to do very well. But most boxers then have a similar story to say, because the fight comes from somewhere. It's not just put there.
But the fight for you manifests itself in a ring. And doing your training and getting motivated and stuff. What you said there, the one word that was springing to my mind was like you develop that resilience. Yeah. And you need that resilience for everything. Yeah. You know, if I look at some of the things that I do, you know, we're not doing too badly at the moment, but there's been, you know, our businesses are 3 and 4 years old. Yeah. There's been times where, you know, you're a week before payday and you're like, shit, I can't pay people. Yeah. Like, and that's a stress. And that and when you're going through that every month. Yeah. For a year, it's 18 months, and you're having sleepless nights and you're not talking to anyone about it, and you're taking the problems home, and that's one problem out of 1,000 if you own a business. And we've got a couple, so it multiplies and multiplies and multiplies. And me being me, I take a lot of stuff on my shoulders and a lot of responsibility to make sure that things happen. And that for me, in a different way, has built a real resilience. Where there's been some stuff that's happened with us in the last year or so that, whether it's work or personal, probably would have been quite difficult for most people to deal with.
Yeah, 100%.
And even something that happened a couple of weeks ago, and I look back 3-4 years ago, I'd have really struggled to deal with that.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks ago, I didn't get any sleepless nights.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
I was okay with it. It wasn't okay, but I was okay with it. And that was I can see even now, and I'll see in the future, but there was a growth, a resilience, a tolerance, just because you've gone through these things so many times. And when you mentioned about your 80, 90 amateur fights and, every single minute of every single fight, whatever it is, you've learned something.
Yes.
You're building that little incremental bits of resilience and tolerance, aren't you, to that stuff?
Yeah, 100%. And in the amateurs, so when my dad got involved in the boxing side of things, he started taking fights for me. And they weren't easy fights.
Yeah.
They were never easy fights. If somebody called up asking for someone at this weight, that weight, Kieron's available. He's going. It didn't matter who they were. Didn't matter what titles they had to their name. When I had a handful of fights, I was in with national champions, British champions. It don't matter what they were. I'd end up going.
Yeah.
And I was okay with it. I don't really know why, because there's a lot of, especially being from King's Heath Boxing Club, they had a big reputation of being a strong top club. But I didn't have the pressure on me because I just kept going and getting this experience. And it was okay for me to take these fights. And I didn't like losing at all. I hated losing, even from when I was a kid. You lose at a computer game, see your dad's mate that comes over. I used to sit behind the sofa, crying my eyes out. Hitting things. I was like that kid. I don't like losing at all. And losing all these fights as amateur really it affected me to a certain point. So what I wouldn't tell people that I've had a fight at school and stuff like that. I just turn up, fight, that's it. No one knows because I've lost and stuff like that. But these are the sort of things that made me be able to do certain things in the pros. Tough times build tough characters. If it was so easy, you wouldn't be able to do that now. I wouldn't be able to do some of the things that I did now. When they put me in with Ted Cheeseman for the British title, it kind of came out of nowhere. But I always was going to take that fight. Yeah. And really, technically, I shouldn't have even been in the ring with him. I came off a loss in a boxing tournament. I'd only been boxing 4-round fights. I think I did one 8-round fight, but I stopped him in the 6th. But they weren't high level. This was again local fights, deco, small hall boxing is what they call it.
That's a big step up.
Massive step up. I didn't expect the call. It just came. But this was always one of the fights that was in my sight. Always said if that fight comes up, I'll take it. And the British title is such a big thing in boxing anyway. Everyone wants to fight for it. As soon as that got called up, my manager called me. I remember I was on the way home from a sparring session, actually, quite far away. We used to travel for sparring quite a lot. We was in Norwich sparring. And I've got a call from my manager, and he said, look, this fight's there. And I'm like, okay, let me just go speak to my dad. And straight away, I was like, right, I didn't say I've been offered this fight. I said, I'm fighting Ted for the British title. And he went, oh, nice, when? That's it.
Nothing else.
It was just part of the plan all along. It just came a little bit earlier.
Quite low key, just no drama.
Very.
Yeah.
It was part of the plan all along, but it just came a bit earlier than expected. But, so, actually, we'll go back. So when I got that loss in the Ultimate Boxer tournament, he had 3 fights in one night, 3 rounders. Don't really know how it goes on your pro record or anything, because there's not 3-round fights in pros and 3 fights in one night. But it is what it is. I got a win, decent performance. It was on BT Sport and stuff. You fight for a big prize money. And then my second fight, couldn't warm up. So I had this big, like you have like an adrenaline rush, and then after my first fight, I had to come down, sat down, big mistake.
Man, it must be quite hard to go.
Yeah, it's not a bit of a...
you're getting yourself up for it, and then you're down, and then you're up and you're down. Like, that must be tough.
Yeah, it's not good for me. I couldn't get to grips with that. Even in sparring, if like we're doing a few rounds, and I get out and I have like a half an hour wait until I've got more rounds, I hate it. It's just not me. It don't work for me. I like just going through it. I'd be much better if I did the fight. It'd be much better for me. But I couldn't get myself up for it. Went in there, didn't do anything, got a loss. And at the time, I remember when I got the loss, I was devastated. Like, as soon as they announced that the other guy won, I kind of knew the other guy won before it was announced. But as soon as that happened, I was crushed. I had quite a few people there, to be fair. Like, by this point, I was able to sell quite a few tickets. And there was all their BT Sport as well, my first TV.
You got that pressure.
Yeah. I remember I looked out and I could see a lot of everyone looking at me, and I got the loss, and I was crushed.
Do you see people when you...
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they're like... A lot of professional sports people,
yeah,
they say, it's just a blur.
Yeah.
What is it like?
I see people. I don't often hear people. Every now and then I hear my girlfriend. She's like always front row anyway, so I hear her shout, and I hear my corner team. Other than that, there's too many people to hear anything anyway. But I do like looking out, and I do see people, and that don't bother me at all. Like, I like that. I like catching someone's eye,
feeding off of
it.
Yeah,
it's and I like making eye contact when I'm in there. It's like, they're watching, so I better do this. People are actually here watching. If you ignore it, you almost forget they're there, and then I get motivated from people being there. So yeah, I like catching eyes with people. But yeah, when I got that loss, I was devastated. Went backstage. I was like on my own, and yeah, I was 22, 23. Sat down, had a bit of a cry to myself. Didn't want anyone near me, because at that point, like, you feel like you get a loss, and in boxing, you think straight away, oh no, it's over. Everyone sees
dream's over.
Yeah, everyone sees you lose, and that's it. Boxing, you're done. Not the same as other sports, but I don't believe in that anyway. I think that's all in our heads. I don't think that you're done. There's successful people that have lost multiple times. It's just part of the learning. I mean, I don't want to lose, and I vow to not lose again. And I'll do anything to do that. But at that time, instantly, I thought, no, that's it. It's over. And then maybe 10 minutes, I was on my own. I just thought, no, you know what? No, it isn't. It's not over. This is just the next stage now. I got up, went outside. People were trying to hug me and stuff like that, saying, "Oh, unlucky." And I was like, "Get off me!" Like,
you'd already brushed it off already.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. And now I'm gonna go and do this. And this has just kicked me up the arse, because I went to that competition just thinking I was going to walk over everyone, because I was a good boxer, and I can adapt and change things, and I thought it suited me, even though it didn't. I shouldn't. The thing that they say is you shouldn't have went in that. People were shocked that I went in that because it didn't suit me, but it is what it is. And me going in that and getting that loss booted me at the arse big time. It gave me like second gear, and the following weekend, or the following like few days, I've texted my manager saying I need a fight now, ASAP. There's one in my local town. Get me on there. I don't want paying. I just need to get a win.
Yeah.
And like brush this to the side. So I got on there, didn't get paid, fought some light heavyweight, over 4 rounds, which was a week later. So yeah, it was like 2 weeks after the fight.
Yeah.
Got a win, good win. Next thing, I'm getting a call for the British title. I'm like, this is mad. So it's like, but you can't come off a loss to box for the British title. So if I didn't get that win, I couldn't have even had a call.
Okay.
So the whole me getting so determined to get straight back,
maybe that's the reward,
led to that. Yeah.
Yeah. That step, because a lot of people would have thought,
yeah,
maybe that's me done.
Yeah.
But the fact that you've
100%.
gone for that fight, had the fight, and then you've got a bit of karma, which is the reward of getting the fight that you want.
Yeah, and karma is a thing. 100% I believe in karma. You put the work in and you get rewarded for it. You don't put the work in and you'll get punished for it in some way. This is just the energy and the vibrations this world gives. It's the way it is. People wonder why bad things happen, and it's probably because of something that you've done.
Yeah.
You don't wonder why good things happen because you know you've done good. You know you've put the work in. So it's the opposite. It goes the other way as well. You don't do that, you don't win. You don't do the work, you don't get the rewards. You do the work, you get the rewards. It's just how it is. And my mentality at that point was, I was just so determined to prove everyone wrong and prove me right again. Yeah, it's just how that all played out, getting that loss. But if I didn't get that loss, maybe I wouldn't have got maybe they wouldn't have, like the fighter and the team might not have even considered me for the fight because I was undefeated.
I think so not strange about boxing, but it's unique. It's kind of what we were saying before we went live, was that kind of pathway.
Yeah,
everyone's got their own pathway, and that pathway is kind of not set out in advance, but it's people that have got more experience are kind of picking where you go. And even with the pros out there, when you hear, you know, Eddie Hearn talk about AJ, for example, oh, he's got an option here, he's got an option there, he could probably go and do that over there, and maybe this one over here, and there's like 4 or 5 different options, and it's like, well, those choices are really important, because if you get them wrong, that could be the end. If you get them right, that could be you skyrocket to the top.
100%.
Like, who makes your choices with that sort of stuff?
Me.
Yeah.
Mainly me.
Yeah.
But so it goes from I've obviously got Eddie, my management, which is MTK, and then my corner team, and then me. But if a fight gets offered to me, I'm like, right, I'm fighting him. I don't say, oh, they've offered this. I don't think I've ever turned down a fight. No, I've never turned down a fight.
Yeah.
And I don't think my corner team's ever turned down a fight. And I don't think my management's ever turned down a fight. Because of where I came from nothing. Like, really nothing. I don't see why I should turn down opportunities. And I'm not scared of the lot. I'm not scared of what people say. It doesn't bother me at all. It probably motivates me more than anything. So if I go in there and I get beat, it bothers me, and I don't want to get beat. But at the end of the day, it's just part of the process. And I'm going to learn from that. Whilst I'm young, I may as well learn as much as I can. So then by the time I'm 30, I'm boxing for these world titles, and I'm at the point where I need to be, rather than fighting easy fights. Or not easy fights, but fights you know you're going to win in the end. They might look
when you
hard.
do that, and like, if you're like, I play probably more football than any other sport, you go and have reasonable games where you think, oh, I'm going to play this opposition, they're all right. You come out, you win 4 or 5-0. When you get put in against a decent team, you're just going to get spanked. Because you've not had any consistency against anybody of any note. But then when you go and get spanked, you're like, well, you probably do take stuff from that. You probably learn more from when you lose, or learn more from when something doesn't go right than you learn from when things go right. So you don't analyse when things go well.
100%.
You always analyse when you cock it up. Like team talks at half time when you're getting beat. Everyone's got something to say. When you're winning, no one's got anything to say. Everyone's knocking around, having a fag, doing this and whatever, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. That's a massive thing in anything, to be fair. Like, I always say, the example, you could be in a running race, let's say a 100-metre sprint, and you could be obviously the fastest runner in that race. You may win and get, say, 10 seconds, for example. But if you run against everyone that's faster than you, you might be last, but you will get a better time than 10 seconds. And that's the important thing, especially whilst I'm young. The end goal is, be better than everyone else. But whilst I'm young and I've got time to work and learn, that's what I want to... It's about me. It's not about anything else except my performance and my progression, me getting better. So you got to do whatever it takes to get better, in my opinion. Because I didn't come from Olympics, so I wasn't the greatest at that time. I've had to take each step as it comes in the pros and get better and better each time. So the learning curve for me is a big thing. I'm happy to take away fights. I'm happy to take hard fights. People say that you shouldn't have. I went to Texas last May. Last May. On the Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders undercard, and they were like, some people were saying, "Do you need that fight?" I said, "Yeah, why not?" And they said, "Oh, because it's going to America. He trains in America. He's like signed with 258 management. It's going against you already." I was like, at the end of the day, that don't matter. I was 24 when I took it, 25 when I got in the ring. And I thought I was going there to win anyway. I was like, "Now, what are you talking about? Why is that? Why do you think that it's all against me? I'm going in there. I'm going to knock this guy out. Like, he's little. He's smaller than me. I'm massive for the weight. And I was just so confident. Anyway, I was so confident coming leading up to it. Like when that was offered to me, I was so confident. Actually, then I was supposed to fight somebody else called Jesse Vargas, who is a big name. He's boxed Adrian Broner, Manny Pacquiao, Mikey Garcia. He's like world level. He's elite.
So you had a choice?
No, well, I took the fight against Jesse Vargas. 4 weeks to go, Jesse Vargas has pulled out, and then I get this Solomon Sissoko come in. But that was all just big drama, and Vargas had his reasons why he didn't turn up, but it doesn't make sense to me.
What do you think that was?
I have no idea. They took the fight. I think we might have even signed the contract. I can't remember if we signed the contract or it was about to be signed. Pretty sure it was signed. But then they pulled out after that with no real reason. Maybe it was just that I'm massive for the weight and he weren't really a super welterweight. He was a welterweight, really. He was coming up. And it wouldn't have made sense. Because I'll get in the ring very big. And he would get in the ring at the limit, probably. He would get in the ring at 154, whereas I get in at near 180. And that's probably where they decided no.
Too much of a risk for him because of the weight.
Probably. I don't see any other reason why you would take a fight to the point where contracts are being signed and then pull out. But it was really frustrating at the time. Leading up to that fight in May. In May. There was a lot of things that went wrong. Don't use it as excuses at all, because at the end of the day, you can make as many excuses as you want, but if your house was on fire and your dogs or your kids or your wife or whatever is in that house, doesn't matter what injury or what has happened to you in recent times, you're going to go and get them and get out as quick as possible. There's nothing going to stop you, because it means that much. So there's no room for excuses where, I've pulled my hamstring, I've got this going on. That's no excuse for a bad performance, in my opinion, because you should just find a way. And like you would if your house was on fire and your loved ones were inside, you'd get them out. So that's just like, how bad do you want it kind of thing. And if you've got the excuses, then I guess that not bad enough is the answer. But yeah, I went out there, didn't perform well, had a lot going on, and didn't get the win either. But he got it on a split. I'm not really sure how. I'm not sure how that I even got one of them judges to give me that fight, but I knocked him down in the 9th and things. But went out there, it was a great experience. My visa didn't come back until 2 days before the fight, so I didn't fly out there until 2 days before.
Yeah. How long would you want to be out there? A week? What? Week and a half?
Minimum. Yeah, minimum. I was meant to be out there for 10 days, I think. But yeah, got out there for 2 days. And yeah, that weren't long enough for me. That weren't long enough for anyone, in my opinion. The time differences and everything. Which, to be fair, whilst my visa weren't going through, I was still planning on being there. I was still changing my body clock at home. Like, I had UV lights in my house and things to change my body clock. So at this time I put the UV lights on. At this time I'd make sure like the curtains are closed and things like that, and everything's all dark as possible. But whilst doing that, my visa weren't there. But then we were going to the embassy anyway, getting ready to pick it up because it said that it might come through now, but it never did. So whilst I was moving my body clock that way, then I took it back and I ended up moving it this way because we were going to the embassy at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And everything was just weird.
I suppose psychologically as well, you're like, it might not happen. And as much as you say it don't make a difference, if there's that 10% in the back of your mind that thinks maybe not.
Yeah. When it got to the point, it was like, so it was 2 days before, my opponent has got a different opponent. They're looking for opponents. I knew they were because one of the fighters' wives messaged me saying, why have you pulled out? And I was like, hang on, I haven't pulled out. I'm still going. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I didn't have a visa this time, so I weren't going. But she's saying, oh, well, we've just been offered the fight. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm getting on the phone to everyone like, nah, what are you doing? I'm still coming. I'm going to be there no matter what you say. But
I suppose they're just preparing just in case, weren't they?
Yeah. So yeah, this was all going on. And it was a weird lead up to a fight. Like, whatever could have went wrong. But I was going to be there no matter what. And I even went with no team on the time when I actually was going to the airport and my visa had gone through.
Yeah.
I went with no team. They were like, we gave you a deadline that day, or we're not going because it's just going to be wrong. You're not going to get there and perform well. Well, so I've just went to the embassy, picked up my thing, and I'm like, right, I'm going to the airport. Are you coming? And they're like, no. I was like, what? I'm going to the airport. Why are you not coming? Also, you've got my kit in your car. Yeah. I need you. Yeah. I need you to come. And they're like, we're not going. We said that's the date. That's the cut-off point. You just have to move the fight now. I was like, you know what? I'm going regardless. I'll turn up without kit, without a team. I don't care. I'm fighting because I don't know. I was just so determined to be on that show. Canelo card, 75,000 people.
Well, at the time, that'd have been the biggest
in America ever. Yeah. Still, there's bigger attendances over here, but at the time that was the record breaker in America, and it was mad. But walking out in front of that many people was sensational.
Man, that was going to be my next question. How do you prepare for that?
Yeah,
what was the feeling? Just ready to go, like you?
Yeah, so I was really, really, really nervous before I went out, and like I was looking out in front to the crowd for a good 10 or 15 minutes. They made me stand in the tunnel for a long time. I was thinking, what am I standing?
Is that good? Is that bad?
Well, I was like, why am I standing here? I should be in the change room, surely just finishing my warm-up and stuff. Yeah. But I was there for a long time, and I was looking out, you could see all of it. No matter how high you looked, it was still like people look up there. It was loud, very loud. And I was so nervous at that point. As soon as I walked up the steps and my music was on, looked out at everyone, every nerve went.
Really?
And I was so calm, and I was in the place where I always told everyone I was going to be. I told everyone that I was going to be on these big cards when I was young. I told my teachers. I told everyone I was going to be there. And I just remembered that. And then walking to the ring, it was it was pretty amazing, to be fair. All these people, they were like shouting for me, shouting my name. They obviously don't know me personally. They're in America and we're in Texas. And it was just a pretty surreal experience, but one that I told everyone was going to happen anyway.
So that's strange that you think that, because I would have thought I'll get nervous before I play on a Sunday. Yeah. I'm playing in front of 30 people. Yeah. At a push if people go out of bed.
Yeah.
And walking out in front of that many people, taking the top step in front of the people would be when I would think the nerves would properly hit. Yeah, you've got the build up, but you haven't started anything yet really, or maybe you have in your head, I don't know. Hit that top step, standing there in front of all these people. For me, never done that before. I would think that's the bit where you think, shit, this is real now. Yeah. But you felt completely calm.
Total opposite. But I felt like this is just where I'm meant to be. I told everyone this is where I'm going to be. This is where I'm meant to be. And I boxed on the AJ versus Pulev card, and that was obviously a box office event as well. But it weren't the same because we had COVID restrictions. There was only 1,000 people in the arena.
Yeah. What sort of a difference does that make when you're fighting?
the no
I
crowd.
watched that one.
The crowd. You mean the crowd?
Yeah, like when you're in an arena, like wherever you are, and you've got 70,000 versus 1,000, obviously there's going to be a noise difference. But when you're like glove to glove, are you hearing that?
Yeah. It did make a difference. It was weird, especially being on such a big card. It was strange being on that sort of card, box office, but there was 1,000 people in that box in front of more people in Northampton, I think.
Yeah.
And it was a weird one. But it was weirder being in the garden when there was no people.
Yeah.
Only Matchroom, Sky, or was it Sky at the time? I can't remember if it was Sky or DAZN at the time. But yeah, so TV.
I think it was DAZN, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
So TV, Matchroom, and corner teams. That's all was there in an open garden. That was weird because you could hear everything. You could feel wind and the rain, and you could just hear like everything. Every single thing that went on, you could hear it, and it was strange. But yeah, the AJ card was a weird one, and but it being such a big card, you think it felt that big, but it didn't feel that big because of the COVID and stuff like that. But going out to Texas, it was massive, huge, and they love Canelo over there.
Yeah,
they love him, so they took the roof off. Even like for my fight, there was 65,000 people there when I walked out.
Wow,
because I was only 2 before him, so a lot of people there, a lot of eyes. Made me feel so comfortable. But I don't know how other people feel about that. I know some people I know don't like crowds.
Is that common as a boxer? Like you feel comfortable with that weight of pressure on you, or are you like an anomaly?
I don't know. I'd imagine that a lot of people feel like that because they know what they're getting themselves into. When you sign up to be a boxer and you sign with TV, you know what you're getting yourself into. You know there's going to be a lot of people watching, potentially millions like that one. So I'd expect they're just fine with it. And I'd expect they're similar to me, but I know some people are not because they've told me they don't want anyone there. If they only want people they sold tickets to, kind of thing. But
so your fight in Texas was the biggest fight in your eyes, really?
Yeah, and also didn't put on a good enough show because obviously that's where I want to be. That's where I told everyone I'm going to be, but I didn't put on the performance that's going to keep me there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really, really disappointed with that. Really disappointed, but it's an experience that's so valuable to me. So like in and out of the ring, everything that went on, I learnt so much from that, and I've got a lot of experience to now pass on to people around me, maybe even in the future. But even to myself, like, I've got the experience to be able to deal with certain things now, and know how to deal with certain things, whereas before I didn't, and that's probably why these things even happened.
What do you reckon were the like top? You mentioned there in and out of the boxing ring, you've taken experience as well. What do you reckon would be the top couple of little nuggets in there that you've taken away from an experience like that?
Well, in the ring, he was such a good boxer. He was a very good boxer, and he knows his way around a ring. So there's a lot of experience I can take from him. There's a lot of things I took from him actually. The way he like popped certain shots out, the way that he disguised certain things. But out of the ring, there was literally everything you can imagine go wrong. I pulled a hamstring 3 weeks before. The visa didn't go through till so long. What else? So obviously flying out there so late made the weight cut really hard. Because I waterload and stuff like that, and you it's just taking you away from everything you've done. You're up in the air for like 12 hours and stuff. Yeah. Then I got there and I had a whole day of medical, so that took away from me making weight again for a whole day. I needed that day to make weight. Made it even harder. Leading up to it, obviously pulling my hamstring 3 weeks out, stopped me sparring. All the stresses that came with fighting and then not having an opponent and then finding an opponent and things like that. It's just the way that you deal with it and the way that you let it affect you and things like that. I've got the experience to now know how to let it affect you, rather than, because it affected me a lot. I was really stressed. I was stressed to the point I was being sick, and that's genuine. And also I had blood tests where my cortisol levels were like through the roof, scary through the roof. And just I've got the experience to be able to not let it be like that again, not put myself in them situations. Not let myself get in them situations either. and advise other people how to not get in them situations or how to deal with them.
Yeah.
With all that in mind, if it was exactly the same, in the exact same situation, I'd do it again.
Yeah,
100% I'd do it again.
Yeah.
But I just wouldn't tell anyone else to
It's
do
just
it.
the opportunity, innit?
Yeah, it was massive. Like,
Too good to turn down.
they were saying to me, I'll just move the fight. No, I'm being there. I'll hang on to the bottom of the aeroplane and get there if I have to. And that was the mentality I had. I literally was doing everything right up to the 2 days before I got out there. It was mad experience. But the whole of last year anyway, but I had 2 fights, and I weren't impressed with either performance, and probably weight related performance. So now the year coming, I've had surgery on both of my hands, and when I get back, I'm going to hit a new weight, middleweight, super middleweight, whatever. I'm big for the weight. I'm big for middleweight as well, and I'm ready to go and collect more titles.
Mate, it sounds like aspects you beat yourself up quite a bit about stuff when you don't feel it's gone perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing, bad thing? Does that motivate you to do better, or does it?
I'm always so motivated.
Some people, you know, you give negative feedback or you if I self-reflect or self-criticise myself, I think, well, what's the point in self-criticising myself to a degree that's going to affect me negatively the next time I go and do that exercise, or the next time I go and do this or whatever? It's pointless. It's just you're beating yourself up for no reason, and that happens a lot with people. A lot. We've all been there, but I think it's also healthy. You've got to maybe it's a level that you go to. That whole when you look yourself in the mirror and think, was I good enough?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. Well, you know, and you reflect and you kind of understand why. Do you feel that you've got that balance right? Do you think you've got the right element of motivate versus beating yourself up too much?
I don't know. I do beat myself up too much, and I don't admit it.
If you won against whoever that you went against next, and it was absolutely perfect, would you still find something?
Yeah, but if I didn't get a knockout, that knockout needs to happen. It's been too long, and anyone that trains with me knows that I dig, and something just don't happen when I get in the ring on fight night. And like I said, it probably is weight related. I take a lot of weight out, and when I'm in the ring, I'm not right. So I've had talks and stuff. It's been too long. It's been too long since I've been stopping people anyway. It's an entertainment sport, and winning on points isn't very entertaining. People come to watch knockouts, as brutal as that is. They want to see someone get hurt. They want to see blood. And for this year, I genuinely would rather get knocked out than win on points from now on. It's entertainment at the end of the day. And saying that, people will think, oh, why are you playing up to people? I'm not. I'm playing up to myself. I'm literally so self-motivated. It's unbelievable. People would not I don't think people would understand the way that I'm really inner motivated. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm not doing it for anyone else. I'm doing it for me. And that's just me.
No, I think that's quite a healthy way to be, because I think you can't. The people that I've experienced in the past that have got, whether it's sport or business or just life, getting up in the morning trying to do what you can do. When you're motivated about external factors, most of the time you can't control them. Yeah. If they're not there anymore, I'm getting up fighting for my partner. Yeah. Or what if your partner leaves? What if you're not with her anymore? What have you actually got left? Yeah. Well, there's nothing there. Yeah. If you've not got any self-belief and any self-get up and go. You're fighting for a friend, you're fighting for family, kids. You know, all these things, as sad as it sounds, can come and go. Mm-hmm. You're not really in control of any of that. 100%. So, but you are in control of what's in here and what's in there.
Yeah. And every day, pretty much every day, I have that similar thought. And I don't need anyone else to motivate me. I don't need anyone to give me these motivational speeches. I don't need anyone to try and get in my head and things like that. I'm so self-motivated. It's unbelievable. I'll go and do things that people don't know I'm doing. I'm obsessed with success, and I hide it so much.
Why do you hide it?
Because no one else needs to know. No, I don't care if they know. I am that. So, like, them knowing that I'm obsessed doesn't change anything.
Do you think what you've said there in terms of how you're obsessed about succeeding and trying to be the best you can be and really strong-willed, is that something that the people close to you know about? Or is that even that it's something you keep?
The people really close to me, my circle is pretty small. The people close to me there's not a lot of them, but the ones that are really close will know that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to tell people this. They'll see it. They'll notice things. They'll pick up on small things that you're doing that other people are not doing. If there's a reason, like I've had no hands to work with, for example. This is not a big example. This is just one that I'd expect anyone dedicated to boxing would do. I've had no hands to work with really for about 4 years. I've been training and fighting with no hands. But since my surgeries, it's been about 9 or 10 weeks. And I'm still in the boxing gym. But there's people that will have an injury on one side and they'll not turn up. It's the difference like that's a small one. Because every dedicated fighter should be doing that. You should be still in the gym, still be training. When all day today, all I've done is study fights, myself, and trained. That's all I've done.
You put something up on your Insta, I think, when you were watching fights and you were watching your own fight, and you mentioned that on your story.
Yeah.
I think it was today, wasn't it? When you said like you're learning from yourself as well as
because other people, my potential opponents will be watching me.
Yeah,
and they'll be trying to work out where my flaws are and strengths are. I'm doing the same. I'm watching myself as if I'm my opponent, so I can work myself out where I can get better in these areas and not let them be able to work me out.
How much of boxing and being successful in boxing is physical versus mental?
Physical, maybe 10%, I'd say, if that.
See, that's something that even just spending the time that we've spent so far here has completely changed in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, I won't go out and box because that's not me as such. I'm not a boxer. You are, but just looking at boxing and seeing fights for a long time, like you said, you used to watch Lennox Lewis and Tyson and stuff like that. So did I. I'd like to know. You look at it and you think, well, they've got to be in peak condition. Obviously there's mental sides to everything, and the mind controls the body in terms of what's possible. There's always more possible. Yeah. But even stuff that you just said there around the theory of boxing. Yeah. Like stuff that non-boxers don't get, like what you've said there about feinting shots, popping shots out from places, hiding it, and angles and different things,
hand positions. It comes down to like the smallest thing of eyes and where your eyes are looking.
All you see on the telly is there's these two guys slugging it out.
Yeah.
That's what you see.
Yeah, and that's what everyone thinks.
To an untrained eye.
Yeah. Everyone just thinks that it's like people think that boxing, you're just getting in there and punching and getting punched. And I see it totally the opposite to that. Firstly, it's punch and not get punched. Yeah. But secondly, there's so much there's so many layers to boxing that the details in it are ridiculous. Coming down to footwear, coming down to, like I said, where your eyes are looking, coming down to the position of your shoulders by millimeters as well. Like very small. Fighting, boxing, all sports is a game of like inches and millimeters. Yeah. And each millimeter makes a big difference. Like each split second, like 1% is such a massive difference in sport. If you think like Usain Bolt, if he ran 1% slower, I'd imagine he doesn't even come second. He probably comes last.
Yeah, same in like F1, even like motorsport. Like there's so much, there's fractions and fractions of a second.
Yeah. It's all about fractions.
But then when you said there about the amount of amateur fights that you've had and stuff, and you're probably 100 fights plus now if you took all of those in, like that's needed to get to any form of standard if you're going into the level of detail that you're talking about. Yeah,
you've just got to you need a certain mentality to go with that. So like the physical experiences, the strength conditioning, the all that side of thing, the physical stuff is one part, but the mental part is massive.
How does your training work then? So obviously you do your theory and you're trying to work the fighter out, or maybe you focus just on yourself or your game plan and stuff. But I work out 3-4 times a week. Yeah. I'm nothing special, but I put on a stone in the last year, and I feel good for it. It's a good stone for me. Yeah. But I also like eating.
And that was your goal.
I'll go and smash a cheesecake in one night. I'll go and have a bowl of cereal at 11 at night and then follow it with another. Yeah. Because I enjoy it and I want to eat, and I'm not an athlete and I'm not exactly on the front of Men's Health, so it's all right. Yeah. And it makes me feel good, so I'm not bothered. But I'd be what from a training perspective, like physical training, how intense is it leading up to a fight? Like, what are you doing? Like, what's a day training? What does it look like?
Training is actually very intense. It's actually very physical, as contradicting as that sounds. So a typical day, where say mid camp, typical day would be. I'm not one of these fighters that gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and like goes to bed at 8 or whatever they do. I kind of push it further. So I'll get up at 7, 8 latest, and then I'll start doing things. But this is where people don't see and people don't understand. Then I'll start studying. That's where the mental training starts coming in straight away when I'm in the morning. I'm up, coffee, boxing's on, and I'm watching it with no distractions. This is not physical training for me.
So when you say about you going out to your camps, where are you going?
Nowhere. I'll stay here for camp.
Okay.
So I'll train with my dad. But it's called camp because you got 10-week training camp. So yeah, that's what I'll do first thing in the morning for however long until. So I don't get a set time. I don't even have an alarm. I get up. So whenever I get up, and it'll be about between 7 and 8, maybe earlier. Not really later because it's too bright. But so that sort of time anyway. And then I'll do my studying, and I'll go and do my first physical session about 9, 10, and that's usually interval-based running, which can be hard can be easy when you're not near a fight. So when you're like at the beginning of camp or not in camp, it's just like longer intervals where you might do like 8-minute, 10-minute intervals 4 times kind of thing. You're just building that aerobic base at a slow speed as well. As you come in closer to a fight, it starts getting more intense. The shorter rounds, more intense. And this, along with everything else you're doing, becomes really draining. And you have to really get the recovery on point. Because if you're doing all these 2 or 3 sessions a day and your recovery is not on point, your sleep's not on point, what's the point in doing the session in the first place? You're not going to improve. And saying that, my dogs have just had puppies. And I've noticed
You've got Frenchies, haven't you?
Yeah. I've noticed a big difference in the way I perform, hit speeds, and feel just in the last week of not sleeping because I've got these puppies. It's massive. It's just ridiculous. Like athletes that don't sleep well and take the recovery.
What do you do to recover?
You've got lots of things. So I'll go down to this place in Chelsea. It's called Human. And you've got hyperbaric chambers, cryotherapy, red light therapy, IV drips, which pump nutrients into your body, and like special nutrients that they use. And it's all legal in sport as well. Like it's the guy that owns it, he works for the WBC, so it's all legal in sports. Really, really good. So
How often
good.
do you go down there?
Maybe once a week. If I felt like I needed it, I'd go again. But it's ridiculous. Like the level of stuff that's down there. I didn't even know that this sort of thing exists. Hyperbaric chambers, just pumping in 100% oxygen into our bodies. And like, you'd think that going outside you're at 100% oxygen, but you're only at 21. So you pump that sort of oxygen around your body, it repairs your cells so much quicker. If you think about it like that, it's probably 5 times quicker because it's 5 times the amount of oxygen, or 5 times the quality of oxygen. So you're repairing and recovering that much quicker. It's good for so much things, not even just sports recovery, but other things, like it's repairing your cells, and like things like red light therapy. A lot of people use that already in different things. I think beauticians use red light therapy. You got cryotherapy, which is what it is. It's like you're standing in an ice, like a cold chamber. Yeah. Minus 110 to minus 140.
How long are you in there for?
2 to 3 minutes. Not long at all, but
it's hard to stay in there though.
Yeah, I did it too cold the other day. I did it at minus 140, and it was for 3 minutes. And after a minute and a half, I was literally, I was thinking, "Can you get me out? I'm gonna pass out." Yeah. I couldn't breathe. My nipples were hurting. My fingers went numb. I was in such a bad way. I was like,
I put the wrong setting on. Get me out.
Yeah, get me out, man. I put it too cold. But yeah, minus 110 is good anyway. You get out and you have all these endorphins fly around your body. You feel like you're high. It's mad. It's a mad feeling when you get out. But that's when it's working.
How long does it last for? Like feeling better? Just until your next session, or is it?
The feeling, that initial feeling, it's like quite, just like, it helps you sleep.
Yeah.
Then you're fine like the next day. But that feeling of like, you feel like excited, happy, like you're just ready to go, like straight away after you get out. It's a mad feeling.
So if you've had really intense training for like a few days and you go and have one of these sessions and you come back home and you wake up in the morning, does that like disappear all your aches, stuff like that?
Yeah. Obviously you've got like DOMs, like you've got muscle soreness because you've got like that lactic acid stuck in there, and you've got to do other things to help that flush out too, like foam rolling and using what are they called? Theraguns.
Oh yeah,
they actually use that down there as well with me. So I don't usually, when I'm in camp, I don't usually feel like that bad.
Yeah.
Even though training is so hard, so intense. So after my running, I'll go home and I'm already starting my recovery for that day. Because if you don't, you've got to go again anyway. You've got to go again later. So you start in your recovery, which could be as simple as just staying on the sofa for a few hours. Just stay there. Don't do anything. Don't go play football with your mates. Don't go out. You've just got to be dedicated and disciplined enough to just do what you got to do. Just stay there. Let your body recover a minute. Eat the right things. Supplement the right things. The right vitamins, nutrients, macros. That's another thing. Like getting your nutrition on point. If I didn't have the help of nutritionists, meal preps, things like that, it would be so difficult.
Where do you find these people? Like naturally, as you get better, you kind of advise to go speak to these people.
Yeah. You get that, but
is that the kind of support you get from being part of like Matchroom, for example? Do they help out with that sort of linking in, or is it?
Well, mine came through the gym, my dad's gym. Okay. We got good connections, so that's where most of my contacts came from.
That meal prep you put on Insta looks pretty good.
Yeah, they're very good. They're very good. They're so helpful as well because they count out your macros and stuff like that. And that's so important for recovery, for making my weight. Like getting down to the 6% body fat, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's performance based, helps you perform because you've got a lot less weight to carry around. Yeah. And like if you put a 5 kilo vest on and you go running, it's going to be a lot harder than it is if you don't put that vest on. And if you think that, and I've got to lose, maybe 10 kilos. So that's a big difference. I suppose you've got to do that over gradual period, haven't you? Because you go and drop that off, then you're going to be weaker. Yeah,
body's
muscle.
Not going to be used to it. Yeah.
If you do it too quick, any weight loss that's too quick is usually muscle or water anyway. So you want to initially. I start from quite far out. I'm not usually 14%. I've just had a lot of time. Since my last fight was October, and I know I'm not fighting again until maybe September, October.
Yeah.
It just crept up on me. I've still been training twice a day, but it just creeps up on you a bit with that side of things, and it is what it is. But I know it's there, and I know it's got to go, and I know how it'll go, and we've got time. So I've worked on other areas anyway. I've put this weight on, and I've got strong. I'm lifting big weights. I know I can hit hard.
Yeah.
And I know the last few months I'm hitting a lot harder, even though I can't hit. But you can just feel it in the way that you move, the way things come across, and even though it's just shadowboxing base, you can just feel that dig.
You know it's there.
Yeah, you know it's there.
So mate, it sounds like with the theory, with the training and stuff's really, really intense. Like when you're having to go to and from London maybe once, twice a week, you're doing your training, you having time where you're just shutting everybody out.
Yeah.
Just about you, about focusing, learning, studying the craft and stuff.
Yeah.
What would you say is your like, when it comes, maybe not just boxing in general, but not just in the camps, but just overall? You've obviously got family. We mentioned about your partner before we come on. Your other things going on.
Yeah.
Is there a massive sacrifice to keep at a level? What would you say is kind of like the biggest sacrifice that you make?
I don't see anything as a sacrifice.
No.
I genuinely don't. I always hear fighters and athletes talking about, I've sacrificed this and I've sacrificed this. I don't see it as that, because either you want it to the point where these things are not sacrifices, or you kind of want it, but you don't. You kind of want it, but I've got to give up this if I want that.
In a simple way, do you just think that's the life? That's your life?
Yeah.
Because when I get asked a lot, oh, you work a lot. You work a lot of hours. How do you juggle the stuff that you do? I'm like, well, what's your work-life balance? Is the common question that I get asked like 3-4 times a week. Same answer. I don't have one.
Yeah.
Because I don't work.
Yeah.
Like when I go to work, I'm working with people I like.
Yeah,
Working with people that are in my family.
Yeah.
I'm working with friends. I'm working with people that, I love.
Yeah.
They're great people. They're working hard. We're working hard. Working towards a common goal.
Yeah.
Want to be successful. I go home. I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a different environment. I'm just doing it with slightly different people. That's just life. Like if I put my laptop on at home, which I try to do, but I've tried not to do most nights. I've got a bit bad of it in the last few weeks. It's been really busy. But if I flip a laptop on and work, that's what I need to do. If I decide I have a week where I don't do that, that's what I need to do. If I leave work a couple of hours early because I need to go and do something personally, that's if I've got the flexibility to do it, that's what I'll do. I'll just look at life, full of choices, and you prioritise accordingly, and you put things up the pecking order depending on what's intense at the time. So I don't really sacrifice anything.
Yeah.
People will say, well, no, I don't. It's just life. That's my choices.
Like
Sounds quite similar with you with that sort of stuff, where it's like, this is just what I'm doing. This is just me.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't see why I'd call it anything else. I don't see why I'd call it sacrificing. I don't know what to put in that category either. If somebody said, "Oh, what would you call it?" No, like if you had to call it sacrificing, what would it be? I don't know what I'd put in that category because I just do what I've got to do, and I enjoy doing that. I love doing that. I really do. I miss being in camp so much at the minute. I miss fighting. I miss doing everything in the right order, because at the minute it's just like going along. I train twice a day. I do this, but it's not the same, and I really miss that.
Do people around you get that? Does it ever cause issues?
No.
You're kind of, because you've got quite a free, like from spending this time with you, you've got quite a free spirit attitude to things, and it's about you, and it's about you, not in an arrogant way at all. I've not got that impression at all, but people that are when they're self-reflecting and when they're thinking about themselves and pushing themselves forward, people that don't really understand, don't get it, and don't listen to the whole conversation could think, well, it's all about himself. What about his friends? What about his family? What about his partner? What about his this and that? I know that's not there with you, but does that way of thinking ever cause issues with family, with your relationship? Like when you have these intense periods where you are putting yourself first and you are head down, you are focused on training, nutrition, learning, theory, especially in camps. Does that ever have issues elsewhere?
It definitely doesn't have issues at home. Like with my girlfriend, we live together. Definitely doesn't have issues there. She understands. And
how does that happen? So for me, in previous life, with previous people that I've been with, when I have intense periods or I work a lot, I struggle to understand. Yeah. And that in the past has come across as your priorities in the wrong place. Yeah. And that's what everybody in my life, I would say 90% of people that when I was 25 to 27 would say, Aaron, your priorities in the wrong place, mate. You're working too much. You're putting this first. Why aren't you worrying about your kids? Why aren't you worrying about his partner? Yeah. These other people that want your time. It's like, well, I'm trying to graph for all of that. Yeah. But you don't understand that.
They're going to benefit from that too. They'll benefit from that work ethic that you've got anyway. So,
but not a lot of people see it that way sometimes, do they?
Yeah, they don't. They don't see it that way.
So how does your partner see it that way?
I don't know. Again,
you just got a lucky one.
Maybe. I think potentially at first it might not have been that easy. And like when we met, I wasn't in a position, like I weren't signed to Matchroom, and this is what we met when I was at the points where I was really struggling financially and with whatever else. And but she seemed to stick by, and she definitely understands now. Like, never questions anything. If I've got to like do my counting my macros on my food that I'm cooking, it's fine. She knows that that's going to take this 2 hours or whatever, and I've got to do my cooking for the week or something. She knows that's fine. If I'm training, that's fine. If I've got to go sparring somewhere and it's going to take all day, that's fine. At first, maybe not. Maybe it weren't that easy. Because
what's changed? Like, how's that changed?
Obviously, I used to tell her what my goals are and my dreams and what I'm going to do. But when it's not happening, it's hard for people to believe you. It's hard for like,
especially she's
2
seeing
years.
you like, and you two have got together when you're not doing so well.
yeah.
When you're saying you kind of speaking here, wanting this.
Yeah, 100%. She probably didn't believe me. She used to say that she believed me, but maybe she didn't. And I don't know, like, she probably thought, why don't you go and get a job as well?
Yeah.
But
Is that conversation ever be had?
nah, I don't think we've ever had that conversation, to be fair. But she probably has been thinking it, because you would, wouldn't you? You'd be like, why is he just doing this? Like, why can't he go and get some money, some stuff so we can do stuff, and things like that. But she's been good. She really has, and it's the points like where I'm training so much and I'm struggling to keep up on other things like the nutrition, and she'll take over. She will count out everything. She'll get it on the scales. So to count all the macros, you like got little weighing scales and make sure you've got like 125 grams of this and this. I'll come home, there's dinner all weighed out and everything all ready, and she just wrote down what's weighed out this way, this way, this way. So I've probably got lucky.
Would you be in the boxing ring? Would you be where you are or where you are right now if you weren't with her?
I don't know, because like I said, I am very self-motivated, but things got hard to keep up with, and I have needed help.
Yeah.
So it's been very handy to have that help.
I think what you've said there is you've got a partnership now where you've got somebody fighting for something that's mutual. You don't need her to get motivated, but she's there to help, and you can't do everything on your own. Because you're not 100% 100% of the time, because nobody is. You think we are, but we're not. Especially blokes. Yeah. We're good, sound, but we're not. Yeah. Some of the time, like there'll be days you'll wake up at 8 and you'll think, "Fuck this," and you won't want to get up, for example, and that'll be the day where she says, "Listen, you need to get up now."
Yeah, she notices as well before I notice as well.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's like if I'm having a bad day, she will tell me before I've even noticed that I'm having a bad day. And like, when someone tells you that you're having a bad day, you're like, am I fuck? And you know, winds you up at the time. 5 minutes later, I'm like, nah, she's right.
She's right.
I'm having a bad day.